There's a problem with my face. Also resin printing. 3D printing is cool and all, but let's face it, resin printing has some difficulties. You know, the resin drips everywhere and you don't want to touch any of it because it's toxic, and you don't want to breathe in any of the fumes because they're also toxic. It smells bad, so you put the thing like out in a garage like this, but then the temperature swings all over the place and it messes with the prints. You can lose like the screws that hold the vat down, and that one time when you weren't paying attention and you hit print and you forgot to tighten the screw that actually held like the bed in place. And that other time you changed a vat thing, and when you poke the screw through, a little piece of the vat film went down into the thread, screwed it up, and you had to use a tap to like clean it out. Yes, speaking from experience on all of this, most of those problems are solved with this, my new favorite 3D printer. Except for the problem with my face, but I will use it to solve that problem later. This is the Uniformation GKtwo. It's a 10.3 inch 8K printer. It's got the same screen specs as that Creality Mage I showed earlier, and that's a good thing because that means the prints will come out looking fantastic. And they do. I printed tons of stuff with this plant-based resin they sent me. They sent me 2 bottles and it's all gone now. I gotta say, I love the quality. It's crisp. It's actually kind of shiny. Like most of the resins I've used so far have kind of like a matte finish, but this almost gives you like a little bit of gloss like you get with injection molded things. But don't accidentally knock the models off the workbench onto the hard concrete floor. They don't like that. They're not super tough. The only printing issue I had with this was running out of resin mid-print. This vat only holds 700 milliliters. It doesn't hold a full bottle. And yes, if I was paying attention, I would have like topped it up before I started to print, but we've already established I don't pay attention. Okay, that one was my fault. The only other con that I see is the price. It's more expensive than other printers the same size and resolution, but I think it's worth it. Let me explain why. First off, it's got this thing, the opening swivel thing. We need this on all of them. Attention other makers, put this on all of them. I don't want to deal with the shell. Next, let's talk about the vat. It doesn't actually screw in place. There's no screws to lose. There's no threads to mess up. It magnets in place and it holds it in really well. These vats also come with a big opaque cover and you can write what kind of resins in there. So I think the idea is you can have multiple vats of a bunch of different resins and just swap out the vats. I don't have multiple ones, but you could. That's kind of cool. The most important thing with the vat is look at how big it is. It's not just as big as the build plate. It's huge. And that's important for a reason I'll get to in a second. Next up, check out the build plate. It's pretty chunky. It has a little more of a complex like leveling system in there. It came leveled, so I didn't have to mess with that. But the best part about this, when you remove the plate, I usually get drips. You know, it drips on my hands. Wear gloves, always wear nitrile gloves, but it's still annoying. It drips like on the table, it runs down the LCD screen on the front of the printer. Not with this, because you have a rim around the build plate. It catches all the drips. That's super nice. If you still get drips, the extra large thing on the vat catches them. So you don't get them on the table, you don't get them on the LCD screen, you don't get them all over the place. They stay in the vat. I underestimated how awesome that was as a feature. It's super nice. And then when you put that plate back in, there's a big clamp up here that holds it down. You don't have to unscrew it, and if it's up and you put the lid down, it pushes the clamp down too. So careless people like me still don't have a problem. I don't think it pushes it all the way down. Just always double check. The touchscreen, by the way, nice and big, easy to see, easy to use, and the power button and the USB port are on the front. They should all be like that in my opinion. Again, manufacturers, listen up. Power button, USB on the front, please. And you can feel exactly where the money is going with this thing. Everything's built really well. Even the power button feels really nice. Like they didn't even cheap out on that. Also, don't know if it matters, but it saves the files that you put in there that it prints on the machine. So that way you can print them later, I guess, if you don't have the USB. Even the extras they send with this thing are super nice. Like this side cutter, way more useful than I thought they would be. And this silicone funnel, this is a fantastic idea. Someone told me the first thing you should print is a funnel for good reason. And you don't have to, they send you one. And also this little silicone flexi spatula thing is now my favorite flexi spatula thing. Like I didn't even have to steal a silicone one from the kitchen. That saved me a night on the couch. These all seem like little things, right? But add all of them up and you end up with a machine that's way nicer to use. Now honestly, I could probably ignore ergonomics. I built half of the machines in here and they don't work for crap. So I'm used to putting up with a little bit of challenge. But there's one feature on this that I can't actually test right now that had me the most excited. That is the vat heater. Because of all the fumes and the smells, you can't exactly put this running in your bedroom. You want it like out in a garage, somewhere where there's ventilation and you don't live there. But garages have temperature swings. This is Wisconsin. And really cold temperatures mess with prints. This will heat the resin up before it starts, and it displays the temperature on the front screen there. Now I can't actually test that right now because it's kind of nice. Like, it's probably 70 degrees out here and I don't have heaters going or anything. But give it a couple months and I'm gonna have snow drifts that I can barely walk through. So when that happens, I'll do another video and we'll test how nice it is to have a resin heater. I mean, the alternative would be heat a 4-car garage up just to make sure that little bit of resin is the right temperature, and that seems slightly wasteful. Now to the final problem, my face. I mean resin fumes. The filters that come with these printers do a pretty good job of taking the smells out, right? And this printer makes changing the filters super easy. Here, look, I'll do it. Hey look, the filter's out. Big charcoal filter. Pretend I have a new one. New filter installed, but a recent test by the channel Keep Making has shown that the smells might not be there, but there are harmful VOCs, volatile organic compounds, in the air in harmful quantities when the machines are running, and I assume when you like whip the thing open, like I just did a minute ago, and you're pouring like bottles of the stuff, it's not healthy. The ideal thing is to wear like a respirator with a filter designed for VOCs. Like this here. This is a 3M filter. There's a particulate filter in there, and then another filter in there for like organic vapors. There are a whole lot of different filters for respirators. They don't all do this. Just make sure the ones you get are set for VOCs or vapores organicos. There isn't actually English on this one. It says Brazil. Oh well, it's toxic here too. Still get one with a particulate filter because if you're sanding this stuff, it's really dusty, believe me. Okay, so just get one of those respirators, right? Well, that's where my face comes in. Now you can't tell like scale in a video, right? But for reference, most of my clothing, everything I wear is kind of medium. This is a medium. My shorts are medium. Everything's medium. This helmet right here, this helmet is an extra large, and it's still kind of too snug. I can't hear with that thing on. It's squeezing my brain out of my nose. Add to that my very tall nose and my long horsey face, and none of them fit me. Trust me, I've tried. For that reason, and because of my facial hair, I've been using the popular Respirator that just goes on your mouth. And that's nice, but the little ends, they're not actually compatible with these filters. So you can 3D print an adapter, which I did, and it works. The problem is, this makes you breathe through your mouth. And if I do that for very long, my throat gets sore, my tongue gets dry, it's no bueno. If only there was a way to make a mask that fit over my whole face, it fit perfectly, and I could stick those filters on it, fire up Blender. So I have a 3D scan of my face, with and without my beard. I have a video, I'll put a link somewhere about how I got that if you're interested. But I took that scan and my non-existent Blender 3D modeling skills and pumped out a couple simple face masks. First one looks like me, there's no seal, but it fits to my face so well I can suction cup it on just by inhaling. Unfortunately, then I have to breathe out and it falls off. So, concept proven. Next up, I tried sculpting one. I started with a traditional like Korean dance mask thing that my wife showed me. Then I added facial hair, and it ended up looking like the Burger King. So scrap that one. You can see an inner liner that fits to my face perfectly, and the mask actually sits away. That's to allow air in and out. Of course, I didn't put any holes in it, but who needs to breathe? So then I just made a face-looking one. It looks kind of goofy, but I'm new to this sculpting thing. Whatever. Also, I dropped it and broke a bunch. Whoops. Then I learned of a neat trick in Blender about stamping alpha textures. They take black and white image and they use it as a height map, and you can like stamp textures on things really, really quickly. So I used Midjourney to make a black and white image of some fancy whatever stuff, modified the mask a bit to fit a little better, stamped on that alpha texture, and got this. Even more goofy. This was supposed to work by sticking the respirator through this hole that I drilled in the front. It didn't work. Okay, try again. So I took the design, modified it a little bit to fit even better, put some loops on so I could actually put some straps on there, made some holes so I could stick hoses on there, took that respirator I showed not fitting earlier, chopped it up, made some adapters, blah, 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 super glued together all the nightmares, and boom, a respirator face mask that fits. This nightmarish contraption is a wearable, functioning respirator with particulate and VOC filters, and a one-way exit valve that fits. The first one I've ever tried. And if you're wondering how I seal it to my face, I put some weather stripping on. It works great. It doesn't feel great, especially at first before you get used to it, but it does work. It's a bit of an ordeal to put it on. This is a design in progress. Remember what I said about I don't care about ergonomics? Right here. And now I can't get it off. Ugh. This thing is gonna choke me to death one day. And it fits even though I have a beard. This is the kind of thing these 3D printers are perfect for. Yes, You can print cool little things like this guy or this Christmas ornament, but they're not just for that. And rapid prototyping isn't just for nerds trying to develop products. They're also for the nerd in the garage to rapid prototype out a respirator that he can make from another respirator, just so we can avoid buying the full face helmet respirators, which is clearly the better option here. And that is how this printer has just solved the problem with my face. And if that seemed kind of rushed, it was. This is still just a prototype. When I get a more complete, less crummy version, I'll make a video on how to build one of these for yourselves. But if I didn't have one of these, I wouldn't be able to pump out like 5 or 6 of these things in a row to see if my plan was actually going to work or not. Maybe in the future I'll do a build video on that. And there are links for this printer down below. Go check it out. See you next time.